Believing something can be done paves the way for creative solutions. Believing something can't be done is pure destructive thinking. This applies to all situations, little and big. Political leaders who don't genuinely believe that permanent world peace can be attained will fail in their pursuit of peace, because their minds will be closed to creative ways to bring about peace. Likewise, the salesman who doesn't believe that that prospect can be sold won't sell that prospect. But, and this is the important part, you can find solutions to business and personal problems if you believe you can. You can find a way to buy a new, larger home if you believe you can. Belief releases your creative power. Disbelief puts the brakes on. Belief is basic to creative thinking. Now, here are 2 suggestions that are guaranteed to help you develop your ability to think creatively.
First, eliminate the word impossible from your thinking and speaking vocabularies. Impossible is a failure word. The thought, it's impossible, sets off a chain reaction of other thoughts to prove it's impossible. Second, conduct this experiment. Think of something special you've been wanting to do but felt you couldn't. Buying a new television, or taking a trip to Europe, or taking a dancing class, or whatever. Now, make a list of the reasons why you can do it. Many of us defeat our desires simply because we concentrate on why we can't achieve them. But for successful people, the only thing worthy of mental attention is why they can. So find the reasons you can do the special things that you want to do, and then put those reasons to work to accomplish them.
Dr. Wernher von Braun, the scientist who was so instrumental in our manned space flight program, once said something very significant. He said, "Man belongs where man wants to go." Now that's the kind of attitude that gets things accomplished, that gives rise to positive, creative thoughts. That's the exact opposite of the kind of thinking that holds so many people back. I call that kind of thinking traditional thinking. You see, traditional thinking is the enemy of creative thinking. The traditional thinker's mind is paralyzed. The traditional thinker says, it's been this way for 100 years, so it must be good, and it's got to stay this way. Why should we change? Well, I'll tell you why change is worth risking. Change is what brings about progress. Personal progress, work progress, world progress. If you want success, the only way you're going to get success is through change. Taking some risk, thinking of new, different, creative approaches to your work, your life. Average people always have resented progress. And in passing, let me define average for you. Average should be defined as the worst of the best and the best of the worst. Average people raised their voices in objection when the first automobiles appeared, on the grounds, they said, that it was natural for us to walk and ride horses. Average people protested when the airplane appeared because people somehow had no right or business flying. Around the turn of the century, a sales executive came up with what he called the scientific principle of sales management. Oh, it received a lot of attention in those days, even found its way into some textbooks. That principle stated that there is only one best way to sell a product, and the salesperson's job is to find that way and never deviate from it. Well, the truth is that there is no one best way to do anything. There's no one best way to mow a lawn, decorate an apartment, or run a business, or sell a product. There are as many best ways as there are creative minds. Nothing grows in ice. If we let traditional thinking freeze our minds, new ideas can't grow. So, here are some specific ways to fight traditional thinking.
Become receptive to new ideas. Welcome new ideas. Destroy those thought repellents. Won't work, can't be done, it's useless, or it's stupid. Become an experimental person. Break up your fixed routines. Expose yourself to new restaurants, new books, new theaters, or new friends. Take a different route to work some days, and take a different vacation this year. Do something new and different this weekend. If you work in distribution, develop an interest in production, accounting, finance, and the other elements of business. This gives you greater breadth and prepares you for larger responsibilities. Be progressive, not regressive. Don't say, that's the way we did it where I used to work, so we ought to do it that way here. But say instead, how can we do this better than we did where I used to work? Use forward progressive thinking in every facet of your life. Get up an hour earlier and do some daily planning, or think of some other way to vary your daily routine. Remember, traditional thinking is personal enemy number one of your Creative Success program.
Every day, we are reminded of one of the most basic facts of business life in this country. Successful businesses are always looking for new, innovative, and better ways of doing things. Automobile companies are constantly striving to keep up with the public's changing needs and desires. Advertising agencies constantly seek new ways to sell products. The food industry is always looking for better production and distribution methods. The search for improvement is vital, never-ending, and absolutely essential to the survival of competitive businesses. And by the same token, it's vital to the success of anyone who wants to improve his or her lot in life. Absolute perfection in any human endeavor is, of course, unattainable. This means that there's endless room for improvement. Successful people, like successful business, are always searching for a better way. You can do this too, as an important part of your personal program for success. Each day, before you begin work, devote 10 minutes to thinking, how can I do a better job today? And ask, what can I do today to encourage my employees? What special favors can I do for my customers? How can I increase my personal efficiency? This exercise is simple, but it's also very effective. Try it, and you'll find unlimited creative ways to win greater success.
I know where I come from. You know, somebody asked me, they said, Steve, why you work so hard? Because I'm running from my past. See, I'm running from my past. The person you see today is not who I've always been. God changed me, man. God turned me into this man. He been making me. God has been shaping me for a lot of years. It's like when you make mistakes. You make mistakes so you can learn. You don't learn from winning. You learn when you lose it. See, Michael Jordan, when I was telling you about them shots he made, the only reason he was making the game-winning shot, because they was losing. They was losing. You got to lose to understand the winning side of life. So I've always understood that much of my life. I done slid off track here with your question because I wanted to say something else. Whoa.
How to stay humble and grounded in a world where you're succeeding?
See, a lot of times when I'm talking, I go off into a story and then I forget where I was at.
I'll keep you on track.
I just had that moment just now. I knew y'all didn't know what I was doing because you stopped clapping. So I said, okay, cool, must be making law. Don't try to help me now. But listen, it's important to just remember where you come from. Just remember. That's the one thing that'll keep you humble. You have to remember where you're from and you have to be grateful because it can go the other way. See, you can want to be successful, but without God's grace and mercy, you won't become successful. So why would you get there and all of a sudden swell up? I'm the greatest now. No, you're not. No, you're not. You have to remember where you're from and you have to stay grateful. There's not a day that I don't thank God for this life he's given me. There is not a single day. Because when I was homeless, I made God a promise. I told God, I said, God, if you let me make it, if you just let me make it, when I get there, I'm going to tell everybody it was you. So that's my mission. See, let me show you this. Your career is what you're paid for. Your calling is what you're made for. God made me famous and I made money. That was for my career. But his calling to me was to show other people how to get a house on the hill. So that became why I was famous. To show other people how to be this way. To cross across oceans to tell my story. To cross religious beliefs. When I sat with Your Highness yesterday, he told me that Islam, this is what he told me. I'm repeating directly what His Highness told me. He said that Islam believes in all faiths, that it is a religion of peace, that Islam believes in Muhammad the Prophet, in Jesus Christ, in all of it. That is what being a Muslim is. This is what he told me. He made me yesterday comfortable with who I was.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
You got to go, man. You just have to go. Never wait on the right time, because the right time ain't ever coming. All that, I'm going to get my ducks lined up in the row? No, you won't. No, you won't. Because as you have aspirations, you got to understand that the devil understands your aspirations too. The devil's job is to rob you of your destiny. See, devil, he only has one job, to rob you of what God intended for you to be. That's his only job. So he has a lot of people that work for him full time. They're called haters. And they at work all the time. And you all experience with them too. And so what you got to do is, when you have these ideas of greatness, you got to go forward. Because it's not going to be a right time. Just go. Just go. Go, jump, take a chance. I walked in a comedy club October 8th, 1985. Had never been in a comedy club, had only heard about them. I was writing jokes for this comedian. This girl told me, "You're writing his jokes?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Why don't you do them yourself?" I said, "How? Where?" She said, "A comedy club." I said, "What's that?" She says, "A comedy club." She said, "Why you writing them jokes for him? You ought to tell him yourself." She said, "I'm gonna pick you up Tuesday and take you." We drove 45 minutes from Cleveland to Hilarious Comedy Club. I signed up for the following week. 9 guys went up, I was just staring at them. She said, "How come you're not laughing?" Because I was just staring at them. Because every joke they told, I knew what they were going to say, and deeper than that, I knew what they should have said. And then when the 10th person came up, they called his name and he wasn't there. He got scared and left. So they said, "We're gonna go to next week's list. Is Steve Harvey still here?" And I looked at her and I said, "Man, this dude in here got the same name I got." And he said, "Steve Harvey, you here? Come on up." I'd never been on stage in my life as a stand-up. I ran up on stage. Long story short, they had a clap-off. I won $50, amateur night. For 45 minutes, I cried all the way home. That girl said, "Why are you crying? It ain't but $50. I said, "No, you don't understand. I was born tonight." I said, "I'm gonna go back, but this is what I'm gonna do the rest of my life." October 9th, the next morning, I went to my job and quit my job with $50. $50. I just quit. Ex-wife left me. Mother-in-law, boy, I cost some hell. Made $3,000 first year in business, $5,200 the second year, $7,300 the third year. Became homeless. Lost everything I ever owned, lived in a car for 3 years. I kept telling them jokes. My father was the only one who believed in me. My mother, my brothers, sisters, all my friends, "Man, get out of that, man. You ain't making no money. You can't tell no jokes." I just kept on. I just kept on. It didn't line up, but you can't wait till it line up. You gotta jump. If you ever planning on soaring, you're gonna have to jump. Now, I don't suggest you jumping like I did. That ain't for the faint of heart. But if you don't do it now, when you gonna do it?
There was a day that I became wealthy. I'll tell you the day, I know that day I was rich. I was broke. I was pissed. I was angry at everybody else but who? Myself. But really underneath it, I was mad at myself. I just couldn't beat myself up anymore, so I was pissed. And I had a friend that I loaned money to when I had barely enough, and I knew he needed it, and I gave him $1,200, and I'm here not able to eat. I'm down to like $25, $26, and I'm saying to him, calling him, and he's not returning my call, and I just need some money, and he's ignoring me. I didn't ignore him then, so I'm pissed. I'm frustrated. In the midst of all this, I'm also pragmatic. I got 25 and change, call it $26. What the hell am I gonna do? I don't have any plans for economics. I got overhead that's crazy. I'm living in this little tiny apartment, 400 square feet in Venice, California. So I thought, okay, when I was totally broke early on, when I was 17, I used to save my money up and go to the smorgasbord and load up for Christmas, load up for the week. So I said, I was in Venice. I'm gonna go over to Marina del Rey, where all the yachts are, and there's a place there called El Chorrito. And I'm gonna go, they have an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord. I'm gonna load up for the winter. I'm gonna get there. So I didn't drive there because I wasn't gonna spend the gas to get there, plus I needed to walk, so I walked there. And I go in, I'm not dressed really great, but it's Marina del Rey, it's okay. And I got a place right by the window and I can see these yachts going by and I'm dreaming of what life could be like. And I'm starting to let go of my anger, and I'm starting to focus on what I want instead of what I don't want. How many followers say I? And that shifted me just a bit. And now I'm eating, which shifted me a lot. And I got this giant plate stacked up. And I don't know what the amount was. It was like, whatever it was, $6.95, $7.95, right? So I'm gonna do this. I could probably do this 3 or 4 times, right? Somewhere in that range. As I'm finishing my meal, this little boy comes in, dressed in a little suit. I honestly don't know how old he'd be, probably in the 3rd grade, so maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And he was so adorable, and he opened the door for his mother, and his mother was an attractive lady, and he came over and he pulled out the seat for her, and she sat down. And she was a pretty lady, but as pretty as she was, I was totally obsessed by this boy. He had presence at 7 or 8 years old. And it moved me. I don't know why, it moved me. And I thought, this kid is like pure. I wanted to always be this way. He's such a good kid, he's a giver. So I got up and I paid for the meal, and whatever it was, $6, $7. So now I've got whatever left, $17, $18, $19. And I walk up to this little boy, and I said, excuse me. And I said, I just want to acknowledge you for being such an extraordinary gentleman. I said, I saw the way you treated your lady, how you opened the door, how you pulled the chair out. I said, that's class. I said, my name's Tony, what's yours? I don't honestly remember his name, Charlie or something. And he looked up at me and I said, Charlie? I said, that's amazing, taking your date out for a lunch like this. He goes, well, actually, she's my mom. And I said, that's even more cool. And he said, oh, but I'm not taking her lunch because I think he said he was 8. I said, oh, yes, you are. I had no plan for this. I just reached in my pocket. I took all the money I had left, $17, $18, $19, and I put it on the table. I said, you're taking her to lunch. He looked up at me and he goes, I can't take that. I said, sure you can. He said, why? Because I'm bigger than you are. And he smiled real big, and I didn't even look at his mom. I just turned and walked away. And I didn't walk out of that door. I flew home. I should have been freaking out. How the fuck am I gonna eat? But I didn't. I flew because something inside of me had finally got past scarcity. I finally realized there's something inside of us more than our limits, especially around this thing called money that I had let terrorize me. And I got home, and the mailman came that day, and I had no idea I was gonna have my next meal. And a letter comes, and it's from the guy I loaned the money to. Handwritten notes saying, I've been avoiding you. It's wrong. I'm so sorry. You were there when I needed you. Here's what I owe you plus a little bit more. And the $1,200 was there plus another $100 for the time that I had to take care of it. And for me, $1,300, that was enough to run my show for a month or 2. And I cried. And then I decided, what does this mean? And I thought, this means that whenever you give, it's always going to come back, so you don't have to ever think about that again. Just give. And the rewards will be greater than you can ever imagine. I don't know if that's coincidence, but I decided to believe that day was the blessing when I became rich. And I can tell you honestly, I've had tough days in my life, economically, emotionally, like all of us. But I've never gone back to that scarcity. I never will. The secret to living is giving. Do it when you don't have it, and I promise you, scarcity will leave your life.
Setting goals. When I started making my first list, Mr. Schwartz said, Mr. Rohn, said, I've got a suggestion for you. He said, I think one of the first goals you ought to set, you're a 25-year-old American male, sure you've made some mistakes, but now you're on the road to better things. He said, why don't you, among all the goals you're going to set, said, why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? A millionaire. Why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? He said, it's got a nice ring to it. And he said, here's why. Now I thought, the man doesn't need to teach me why. I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to have $1 million? He said, no, that's not it. Here's why. For what it will make of you to achieve it. And I got one of the greatest classes in one sentence I've ever received in my life. Set a goal that'll make you stretch that far. for what it will make of you to achieve it. What a brand new reason for setting goals. What an all-encompassing challenge to have a better vision of the future. What for? To see what it will make of you to achieve it. And here's why. The greatest value in life is not what you get. The greatest value in life is what you become. Major question to ask on the job is not, what am I getting here? Major question to ask is, what am I becoming here? It's not what you get that makes you valuable, it's what you become that makes you valuable. Then he said, when you finally have become a millionaire, now, he said, what's important is not the money. I thought, wow, I've got some more to learn. He said, no, Mr. Ron, I'm telling you honestly, you could just give the money away. Now, I did better than that, right? I told you. I lost it all. I'm rich by the time I'm 31. I'm a millionaire. I'm broke by the time I'm 33. Foolish mistakes I made. But what an experience that was. And I'm telling you, the man was right. When I finally was broke at age 33, guess what I discovered? My money did not mean that much. It represented only a fraction of all my assets. Schwartz said, once you become a millionaire, Mr. Rohn, you can give all the money away. Because he says, what's important is not the money. What's important is the person. Now, let me give you the key phrase on setting goals. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Always keep that in mind. What will this make of me? If I set this goal and go for it, not only will I achieve it, but what will it make of me in the process? What a whole new concept on setting goals. Don't set your goals too low. Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. Go where the pressures are to perform, to grow, to change, to develop, to read, to study, to develop skills. The guy says, well, I don't need much. Well, then you don't need to become much.
Many of us are pretty comfortable in our life. We've got a reasonably good income. The mortgage is paid. There's food in the fridge. We've got a nice warm bed to sleep in. And everything seems to be floating along just fine. And you know, a person in that position could very easily think, why would I want to do anything to change this? Well, we have found that if your life is not going in one direction, it absolutely, by law, must be moving in another direction. Many of us have established a comfort zone in our lives. We're just coasting along, taking the line of least resistance, just getting by. We've all worked hard to get to where we are, and it may seem a very good place to be. The problem with this is that once we stop reaching, stretching, seeking, and risking, we actually stop growing. The comfort zone frame of mind is settling for what we are today. That may be fine today, but without continued growth, and I believe this is the key line coming up, we are now all we are ever going to be. If you're in a comfort zone, beware. The danger of a comfort zone is that it doesn't hurt, and it might even feel good. Many take that to mean it's a good place to be, but it's not. A comfort zone may be what is holding you back from real growth, real accomplishment, and your potentially exciting and rewarding future. Now, I've mentioned if we're not going in one direction, we must by law be going in another direction. You're either creating or you're disintegrating. Whenever we hear a person say, I like it just the way it is, we know that person is advertising their ignorance of a very basic law of life, because absolutely nothing stays the way it is. I think, have been raised to believe that education is going to school for a certain number of years and be able to correctly answer a series of questions. But you know, many people will go to school all their life and be able to correctly answer the questions, but then when it comes to getting out into the marketplace and really making it happen, they just don't know how to compete. Many are withdrawn. They don't even feel comfortable meeting or greeting a stranger. Now, I think you know, and I know, that if we're going to improve, we have to have a very open mind. I once heard that an open mind was being prepared to throw away some of our most cherished beliefs when a better idea comes along. Now, you'll find that the vast majority of people seems to back into the future, dragging all of their old experience with them. When they're confronted with a new idea, they ask, does it fit? If it doesn't, then they say it's wrong. Now, what we want to do is ask ourselves, would this new idea improve the quality of my life, or would it get me going in the other direction? Everyone, without exception, has been born with tremendous resources lying within them. We've got deep reservoirs of talent and ability. And through following right rules and natural laws, we're going to find that we can draw that potential to the surface, and we can bring it to bear, and it will cause the manifestation of prosperity in our material world. Decide what you want, write it on a card, carry the card in your pocket, and read it as often as possible every day. Now, keep in mind, I was earning $4,000, I owed $6,000. I was sitting in a fire hall at the time, and I wrote on the card that I was going to have in my possession by New Year's Day of 1970, $25,000. Now, I wrote that on the card in 1960. You know, the idea of having $25,000, it was sort of a fantasy. I don't think there was $25,000 in the whole fire hall at the time. Now, I wrote that in the card in 1960. Keep in mind, I gave myself a decade to pull this deal off. I really didn't believe it was going to happen. But I found out a couple of things. I found if you write a lie on a card and you read it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. William James, back around the turn of the century, he said, believe, and your belief will actually create the fact. Well, I did what he suggested. I read this card every day. I'd carry it around and I'd just keep reading. Now, something very funny happened to me. 1 year later, I was earning $175,000 a year. Now, that was not supposed to happen. See, everything I'd been taught since I was a little boy indicated that if you don't go to school, you can't win. If you don't have business experience, you can't win. I had not gone to school. My second month in high school, they asked me to leave. I'll never forget how happy I was when they made that decision. But here I was. I was 16. I had very little knowledge. I had absolutely no skills. And at the very best, my attitude was poor. What chance did I have? I really didn't have any. But I didn't know that. And I found that it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You may not have a colorful background, and maybe you have. You may not have a lot of formal education, and maybe you have. But it really doesn't matter. If you've got a goal and you're willing to stick to it and study the laws, you're going to find out that you can win.
That it's necessary for us to begin to look at the future and know that it's possible that we can have our dream. Yes, it is. Other people have done it, then we can do it. We fail a lot of times. Well, a lot of other folks fail, and eventually they came back and they succeeded. So it's possible we can have what we want. And that we align ourselves with people that think like we do. It's necessary. We get negative, do-nothing people out of our lives. It's necessary. We never stop learning and growing and developing ourselves. It's necessary that we never give up, that we're going to keep on keeping on, that we're going to find a way to win or find a way to make it happen. And we know it's hard. It's not going to be a picnic. It's hard. It's hard. And we will do it hard. And once we do it hard and we go through it, we realize it was worth it. And once you discover it was worth it, it is done.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
Everything you can think of to dazzle your grandchildren and have them think you're the greatest and the best ever. But it's pure joy, and you have to pay attention. It's some work involved, of course, in making a good relationship like that work, but the payoff is incredible for the small price to pay. One of my dear friends asked me, said, I've got teenagers now. What else can I do to influence their life? And I said, maybe not that much. But here's two good words to consider. Now that they're teenagers, the key is to be available and capable. Capable of good answers when they need them, capable of counsel when they need it, available when they need to make a call, but trying to daily influence somebody's life, after they've become, especially teenagers, right? It's a tough job to do. But if you settled for that, being available and capable. I want to be well-read and have good command of language and be able to translate my own feelings and experiences into useful conversation so that when the need arises, I'll have something valuable and wise to say, however short or long it may be. It's like fishing, you can't jerk too hard or you lose them. And you can't leave too much slack, let them off the line, they're gone. So it's called pull, 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 easy, easy, pull, pull, easy, easy. To learn how to fish, to catch fish. Kind of the same with communication, strong enough but not too strong. It can't be weak or the point doesn't get across. It has to be strong. Strong without being rude, I say, in one sense. That's more a presence. But in communication as well, well-chosen words mixed with measured emotion, not too much, not too little. When the actor gives a performance, if the script is well written, that's part of the structure. The rest is delivery, part of it is style, but part of it is enough emotion for the point. Not too much. And I think parents have to do the same. Sometimes kids have a valid objection to saying it's not that big a deal. And in the parents' mind, they've made it into this monster deal when it really isn't. But if you always make everything into a big monster deal when it isn't, kids get a bit misled by that. The key is to save up that emotional content of making something a big deal, if it's a big deal, and be a little more rational and emotionally contained when it isn't such a big deal, more thoughtful than volume, more caring than loud. I don't know. It's an art. It's a bit tricky dealing with kids, right? You got to tell them what you love and what you hate. I love you, but I hate what's happening. They need to know both. How do you put both strong feelings in the same sentence, love and hate? But we've got to do it. Because we have to deal with both, what's right, what's wrong, what's better, what's okay, what would be better. We all struggle with the language. Words are clumsy sometimes when you try to express what's going on in your head, let alone your heart. It's not an easy challenge. If the parents are okay, the kids are okay. Chances are high, odds are high. If the parents are okay, the kids are okay. Your own self-development is the best contribution you can give to your children. Not self-sacrifice, self-development and contribution. Self-sacrifice usually earns contempt. Self-development and self-investment earns respect. I used to use the old phrase, I'll take care of you, you take care of me. I found out how short-ended that was. I changed it, and Bob Cummings, the old movie star, helped me to change it. Here it is. I'll take care of me for you, if you'll take care of you for me. The best contribution I can make to you, if you're my friend, is my personal development. What if I become 10 times wiser, 10 times stronger, 10 times better, 10 times more unique? Think of what that will do for our friendship. If the parents multiply their own personal value by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10, what would that do for their children? Wow. If the parents are happy, I'm telling you, the kids will be happy. If the parents engage in unique lifestyle, don't miss anything. Drink deep of the cup of whatever's available. I'm telling you, if the parents are okay, the kids are probably going to be okay. Wow. If you're on an airplane, the stewardess says, if we run out of oxygen, these masks are going to drop down. And then she says, make sure you take care of your children first. No. Would you underline no? Would you underline no? No. Have you got that? You should take care of your children first. No. That's key. It says, put your mask on first. You take care of yourself first. Then you assist your children.
See them people up here, they tired of buying you laptops and iPhones and sneakers and all that. They hoping with everything in them that this degree flips the script, that you one day buy them a TV and another house. Look, I got 7 kids. All 7 of my kids either done graduated or they in college now. You know why I send them to school? So they pay me back. That's the only reason. I just want my money back. If they could just give me a ROI, or return on investment, give me the money I dumped into y'all. Just give kid back to me. You know how much paper I don't spend on these kids of mine? But you gotta learn how to fail and win anyway. You got to overcome. So now here's the lesson. Behind every moment of adversity, every single moment of adversity in your life, two things are going to happen. There's going to be a lesson and there's going to be a blessing. You got to wait on both of them. If you let the adversity crumble, if you focus on the adversity, you will lay there and wallow in the fact that you have failed. Because failure coming. But life is 10% what happened to you. It's 90% what you do about it. Man, so what you fail. It's not really failure though. Every time you fail, it's a valuable, taught, learned experience that makes you greater for later on. They didn't tell you this at ASU. Once again, I can only use December 21st, I hosted Miss Universe. What you laughing at? It wasn't funny then. Everybody, boy, you crazy, well, you ain't nothing. Do you know, in that moment of failure, you know what really happened to you? The biggest mistake on television. Do you know one of my prayers, because every morning I have a gratitude prayer. I have a list of 89 things that I read before I start my day. I don't wake up without reading it. I don't go to bed. It's on my iPhone. It's under my notes section. I have a gratitude prayer because one of the principles of success is the more you're grateful for, the more he gives you to be grateful for. Look, I don't know but 4-5 scriptures. I done one of them already, so I ain't got but 3 more. But them 4-5 ones that I know, they 4-5 good ones though. They got me here today. So now in gratitude, when you show God gratitude, he give you more stuff to be grateful for. So I wake up in the morning, I thank you for listening. In my gratitude prayer, I put in several requests. One of my requests, because I have businesses overseas, one of my requests was, I was asking God to increase my global persona and reputation. Now, I didn't appreciate the way he did it. I did not care for the route he took. I was really looking upside God's head. Hey man, because the day after, my name on social media was Googled 2 billion times in 48 hours. I was on the front page of 64 countries' newspapers. He had increased my global persona and reputation. But it happened in a moment of adversity. And see, this is how God works, man. This is why you got to grab this for me now. It happened in a moment of adversity. I shamed myself. Man, it was humiliating. I had death threat. We got security. My wife will tell you with her fine self sitting over there. What's up, girl? I see you. Love you back. Stay with me. Thank God for that over there every day. If he ain't done nothing for me, he gave me that there over there. You feel me? That was the adversity. We got security at our house now, don't we? I have guards that come to my house. That's in my yard, behind my... We had serious death threats. Colombia was so upset. You know, them boys, they sell drugs. They got drug cartel over there. You got, you know, when they mad at you, you got to pay attention. You know, this ain't, can't just play them off. You know, there ain't no skinhead. I had death threats. I had so many memes done about me. Some of y'all did the memes yourself. I had friends on TV that I thought was my friend just doing memes about me. Man, it was a week of just agonizing humiliation. Every newspaper, every morning show wanted to interview me. I wouldn't do no interview. There was some adversity had hit my life. And as people was trying to make fun of it, my family was in pain. We were suffering. But what I tell you though, behind every moment of adversity, there's 2 things. There's a lesson and there's a blessing. Here was the lesson. They ain't gonna get me like that no more. What you put in that teleprompter has to match what you put on the card, and it's got to coordinate with the IBF that I had in my ear. Because everything on that monitor and everything in my ear and on that card, the next name, according to the teleprompter, was Miss Columbia. Miss Columbia! Oh, it was a great moment. I went all the way in the back. 2 minutes went by. Ain't nobody said nothing. Then they discovered it was a mistake. Then they said, we got to fix this. The guy in my ear said, we'll straighten it out in the morning news. I walked out there myself. I decided. I'm walking back out there. The man in my ear said, where you going? What are you going to do? You said we got fixed. So I went out there and took the whole bullet myself. They changed the card from all 3 days rehearsal. They never did a runner-up because it was a new company. They did it different. Hey, they messed up everything. I took the bullet and the blame because my mama, the Sunday school teacher, and my daddy, the coal miner, was alive and do the right thing. Be a man, own up. you.